My fiancé was sleeping with my sister and planning to run off after our engagement. I found their emails. I canceled the party and exposed them. Their faces were pure shock. Man, where do I even start with this mess? So there I was, 27, and thinking I had life figured out. Got myself a decent job at a marketing firm, my own little apartment downtown, and what I thought was the perfect guy. Liam had been my boyfriend for 3 years, and honestly, I was head over heels. Dude was charming, had this whole laid-back vibe that just clicked with me. You know, we'd spend weekends binge-watching Netflix with takeout from our favorite Thai place, and he'd always remember the little things like how I take my coffee or that I hate horror movies. For real though, I thought we were solid. We'd talked about the future, about getting a dog together, maybe buying a house with a white picket fence and all that suburban dream stuff. So when he proposed last month at our favorite restaurant, I was over the moon. Posted it all over Instagram, called my mom crying happy tears, the whole 9 yards. My sister Kelsey seemed happy for me too, or at least that's what I thought. She's 2 years younger and has always been the dramatic one in the family. Growing up, she'd throw these epic tantrums whenever I got something she wanted, but I figured we'd grown out of that sibling rivalry stuff. She was even helping me plan the engagement party, suggesting venues and helping me pick out decorations. Looking back now, I should have seen the red flags, but you know how it is when you trust people. The whole thing started falling apart 3 weeks ago when I was at Liam's place. He'd left his laptop open on the kitchen counter while he ran to grab us some Subway for lunch. His Gmail was up, and I wasn't trying to be nosy or anything, but this email notification popped up that made my stomach drop. It was from my sister, and the preview line said something like, "Can't wait for after the party when we can finally..." No cap, my hands were literally shaking as I clicked on it. What I read next felt like getting punched in the gut by Mike Tyson. These weren't just friendly sibling-in-law messages. These were full-blown love letters between my fiancé and my sister. Pages and pages of them talking about their connection and how they'd been seeing each other behind my back for months. The worst part? They were planning to run off together right after our engagement party. Liam was going to wait until after all the gifts and congratulations, then break up with me and disappear with Kelsey to start their new life in another state. They had it all mapped out, talking about job opportunities in Portland and how they'd found this cute apartment online. I'm sitting there reading these emails and it's like watching a car crash in slow motion. Every sweet thing Liam had said. To me, every family dinner where Kelsey acted supportive, every time she offered to help with wedding planning, it was all fake. They were laughing at me behind my back while I was planning what I thought would be the happiest day of my life. Update. Found some pretty damning evidence and I'm planning something big. Should I confront them privately first or go nuclear? This is eating me alive and I need to do something soon. I spent the next hour going through every email, screenshot after screenshot. There were messages about how they couldn't help their feelings and how sorry they felt for hurting me, but not sorry enough to stop apparently. Kelsey wrote about how she'd always been jealous of my relationship and how she deserved happiness too. Liam talked about how our relationship had become comfortable but wasn't passionate like what he had with her. The betrayal hit different because it wasn't just my boyfriend cheating, it was my sister, the person who was supposed to have my back no matter what. We'd grown up sharing everything, from clothes to secrets to late-night ice cream runs when our parents were fighting. She was my maid of honor, for crying out loud. When Liam got back with our sandwiches, acting all normal and asking about my day, I wanted to throw that Subway right at his face. But instead, I played it cool, told him I wasn't feeling great and needed to head home early. He was all concerned, offering to make me soup and rent a movie, and I just nodded along while dying inside. That night, I did what any reasonable person would do. I went full detective mode. Started thinking back on all the times things seemed off but I'd brushed them aside. Like how Kelsey always found excuses to come over when Liam was there, or how she'd text him directly about family stuff instead of going through me. Or that time I came home early and found them on my couch watching a movie, sitting just a little too close. There was this one incident a few months back where I'd walked into a room and they both got quiet real quick, like they'd been talking about something they didn't want me to hear. Kelsey played it off saying they were planning a surprise for my birthday, but my birthday had already passed. All these little moments started adding up like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle I really didn't want to complete. I started paying closer attention after that. Would catch them exchanging looks during family dinners, or notice how Kelsey always knew details about Liam's work that I'd never mentioned to her. She'd make these comments about how lucky I was and how she wished she could find someone like him. Girl was practically drooling over my fiancé right in front of me. The breaking point came when I decided to record one of their phone conversations. Yeah, I know how that sounds, but desperate times and all that. I used this app to record calls and pretended to be asleep when Liam got a call from her one evening. They talked for over an hour about their future plans, about how hard it was to pretend around me, and how they just had to make it through the engagement party before they could be free. Hearing my sister's voice talking about how she'd won and how I'd never see it coming was the final straw. These people were treating my life like some kind of game show where the prize was publicly humiliating me. That's when I decided they wanted a show, so I'd give them a show they'd never forget. Update. The plan is in motion and the party is tomorrow. I've got everything ready and I'm honestly terrified but also excited. Is that weird? This could either be the most epic revenge ever or completely blow up in my face. Wish me luck. First thing I did was cancel all the actual engagement party plans. Called the venue, the caterer, the DJ, everyone. Most places were cool about refunding deposits since I was canceling with enough notice. And honestly, the wedding industry deals with cold feet all the time. Told everyone there was a family emergency and we needed to postpone. But here's the kicker. I didn't tell Liam or Kelsey about the cancellations. Instead, I sent out new invitations for the same date, same time, but at my parents' house. Said, we were changing venues for a more intimate celebration, and that I had a special surprise planned. Both of them were totally on board, probably thinking it would make their grand exit even more dramatic. Spent the week putting together what I like to call my presentation. Screenshots of every email, clips from the recorded phone call, even some photos I'd found on Kelsey's Instagram that showed her wearing Liam's hoodie, the same one he'd told me he'd lost at the gym. Put it all together in this PowerPoint that would make my old college professors proud. My parents were confused about the venue change but rolled with it. Dad fired up his old projector that he uses for watching football games in the backyard, and Mom helped me set up chairs and decorations. They kept asking what the surprise was, but I just told them they'd have to wait and see like everyone else. The morning of the party, I woke up feeling like I was about to bungee jump off the Golden Gate Bridge. Part of me wanted to chicken out and just confront them privately, but then I remembered all those emails talking about how clueless I was and how easy it had been to fool me. Nah, they wanted to play games, so we were going to play. Got dressed in this killer red dress, not exactly engagement party material, but more like I'm about to ruin your life attire. Did my makeup extra nice, straightened my hair, the whole works. If I was going to blow up my relationship in front of everyone we knew, I was going to look good doing it. Guests started arriving around 6. My cousins, college friends, co-workers, neighbors, basically everyone who'd been celebrating with us over the past few weeks. Liam showed up in his best button-down, all smiles and handshakes, playing the part of the happy fiancé. Kelsey came in wearing this cute sundress, hugging everyone and talking about how excited she was for her big sister, watching them work. The room knowing what I knew was surreal. They were both such good actors, I had to give them credit. Liam had his arm around me, introducing me to his work buddies as his beautiful bride-to-be, while Kelsey was taking selfies with our cousins and posting about what a perfect day it was. Around 7:30, when everyone had arrived and had a drink or two, I called for attention, tapped my wine glass with a fork like you see in movies, waited for the chatter to die down. Thank you all so much for coming tonight, I started, looking around at all the faces of people who cared about me. I know you're all expecting to celebrate an engagement, and in a way, we are celebrating. We're celebrating truth, honesty, and finding out who your real friends and family are. I could see Liam and Kelsey exchanging confused looks. A few people in the crowd were starting to look puzzled too, probably wondering why I sounded more like I was giving a TED Talk than an engagement speech. Some of you might be wondering why. We changed venues last minute, I continued, walking over to where Dad had set up the projector. Well, it's because I discovered something that I think everyone should know about before we move forward with any wedding plans. That's when Liam's face went from confused to pale. Kelsey was standing behind him, and I could see her literally freeze like someone had hit pause on her. See, I found out that my fiancé and my sister have been having an affair behind my back for months. The room went dead silent. Like, you could hear a pin drop silent. And not only that, they were planning to run away together right after tonight's party. Clicked the remote, and the first slide popped up on Dad's garage wall. It was one of their email exchanges, blown up big enough for everyone in the backyard to read clearly. People started gasping, pointing, pulling out their phones to take pictures. Update. Just finished the most insane night of my life. The confrontation went exactly as planned and the fallout has been intense. Currently packing my stuff because I'm getting out of this town. Should I tell you how they reacted, or are you tired of this drama? This is from 3 weeks ago, I said, reading directly from the projection. Quote, I can't wait until after the engagement party when we can finally stop pretending. She has no idea what's coming, and honestly, it's kind of sad how trusting she is. The crowd was buzzing now, people whispering to each other, looking back and forth between me and the two people who were trying to become invisible. Liam stepped forward like he was going to say something, but I held up my hand. Oh, but wait, there's more. Next slide showed Kelsey's response. I know I should feel bad, but I've wanted this for so long. She's always gotten everything handed to her, and for once, I'm getting what I deserve. My mom literally gasped out loud. Dad's face was turning that shade of red he gets during football season when his team's losing. Some of my friends were shaking their heads, and I could hear someone in the back say, what the heck is wrong with people? And just in case anyone thinks these emails might be fake, I said, pulling out my phone. I also recorded one of their phone conversations from last week. Played about 30 seconds of audio where you could clearly hear both their voices talking about hotel reservations and job applications in Portland. Kelsey's voice saying she was so over pretending to care about this stupid engagement came through crystal clear. That's when everything hit the fan. People started yelling, my mom started crying, and Dad looked like he wanted to punch somebody. My cousin Sarah shouted, "Are you kidding me right now?" And a few of Liam's buddies were backing away from him like he had some contagious disease. Liam finally found his voice and started stammering about how it wasn't what it looked like and how they could explain everything. Kelsey was just standing there with tears streaming down her face, but not the kind of tears that make you feel sorry for someone. More like the tears of someone who just got caught red-handed. Actually, I said, turning off the projector, I think the emails and phone calls explain everything pretty clearly. The only thing left to explain is how you both thought you could treat me like garbage and get away with it. Walked over to Liam and held out my hand. He looked confused until I said, the ring, I'm going to need that back. His hands were shaking as he took it off my finger. The whole backyard was watching like it was the finale of some reality TV show. When he handed it over, I dropped it right into my wine glass with a satisfying splash. "I want both of you out. Of my house and out of my life," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. "And just so we're clear, there's no engagement, no wedding, and no family relationship anymore. Congratulations on your new life together. Hope it works out better than your sneaking around did." The crowd actually started clapping, like real applause. My college roommate started a slow clap that turned into full-on cheering. Someone yelled, "You go, girl!" And my neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, shouted, "Good riddance to bad rubbish." Liam tried one more time to talk to me, grabbing my arm and saying we needed to discuss this privately. That's when my dad stepped in and told him in no uncertain terms that he needed to leave immediately before things got ugly. Dad's a big guy who still lifts weights in the garage, so Liam got the message pretty quick. Kelsey finally spoke up, saying she was sorry and that it wasn't supposed to happen this way. I looked her straight in the eye and said, "The only thing you're sorry about is getting caught. If you were actually sorry, you would have stopped months ago." They slunk out of there like kicked dogs while everyone watched. Soon as they were gone, the party actually got better. People were coming up to me all night, telling me how brave I was and how I deserved so much better. My friends stayed late, helping clean up and making sure I was okay. Best part was watching it all unfold on social media afterward. Apparently, several people had filmed parts of the confrontation and posted them. Not the emails or anything private, but just me calling them out and kicking them to the curb. Got tagged in posts all night with comments like, "This is how you handle betrayal," and "Queen energy right here." The next few days were a whirlwind. Liam kept calling and texting, trying to explain himself and asking for another chance. Sent flowers to my work with a note about how he'd made a mistake and how we could work through it. Blocked his number after the 5th voicemail where he was literally crying and begging. Kelsey tried a different approach, showing up at my apartment with our mom, talking about family and forgiveness and how we needed to stick together. Told them both that family doesn't stab you in the back and plan to humiliate you in public. Mom was trying to play peacemaker, but even she had to admit what Kelsey did was messed up. The whole thing created this massive family drama. Dad was barely speaking to Kelsey, my aunts and uncles were taking sides, and family group chats were blowing up with arguments. Kelsey kept trying to paint herself as the victim, saying she couldn't help who she fell in love with and that I was being cruel by cutting her off. But here's the thing. I wasn't about to stick around and be part of that mess. 2 weeks after the party, I put in for a transfer at work. Company had an opening at their Seattle office, and I jumped on it. Sometimes you just need a fresh start, you know? Spent my last week in town packing up my life and saying goodbye to the people who actually mattered. My real friends threw me a going-away party that was way more fun than my engagement party ever would have been. We did karaoke, played beer pong, and everyone shared stories about the worst relationships they'd ever been in. Felt good to laugh about it all. The drive to Seattle was therapeutic. Loaded up my Honda Civic with everything that mattered, made a playlist of all my favorite breakup songs, and hit the road. Stopped at this little diner in Oregon where the waitress called me honey, and the coffee was strong enough to wake the dead. Felt like the start of something new. Found this awesome apartment in Capitol Hill with exposed brick walls and big windows that get morning sun. Nothing fancy, but it's mine, and it doesn't have any memories of lying boyfriends or backstabbing sisters. Neighbors are cool too. Young professionals, artists, people who mind their own business but wave when they see you. Started taking photography classes at the community college because why not try something new? Always loved taking pictures but never had time when I was planning a fake future with a fake fiancé. Turns out I'm actually pretty good at it. Professor says I have a good eye for capturing authentic moments, which is ironic considering how bad I was at spotting fake ones in my own life. Been dating too, nothing serious yet, but met this guy Marcus at a coffee shop who actually seems genuine. He's a teacher, volunteers at the animal shelter on weekends, and when I told him my story, his reaction was, "What kind of person does that to someone they're supposed to love?" Right answer, my friend. The best part about my new life is the peace. No drama, no wondering if people are being honest with me, no walking on eggshells around family dysfunction. Wake up when I want, go where I want, make decisions based on what makes me happy instead of what keeps other people comfortable. Started a blog about the whole experience too. Not for revenge or to trash talk anyone, but to help other people who've been through betrayal like this. Getting messages from readers saying my story helped them recognize red flags in their own relationships or gave them courage to leave bad situations. That feels pretty amazing. As for Liam and Kelsey, heard through the grapevine that their grand romance didn't work out quite like they planned. Turns out when your relationship is built on lies and betrayal, it doesn't have the strongest foundation. Who could have seen that coming? They lasted about 4 months in Portland before everything fell apart. Liam came crawling back to our hometown with his tail between his legs, but most of our mutual friends wanted nothing to do with him. Hard to trust someone who will betray the person they're supposed to marry. He's apparently working at some dead-end job and living with his parents again. Kelsey's situation is even worse. Family relationships are still a mess because of what she did, and she can't seem to understand why people don't just forgive and forget. Last I heard, she was trying to date, but word gets around in small towns. Most guys don't want to get involved with someone who's known for stealing her sister's fiancé. Mom calls every few weeks trying to get me to work things out with Kelsey, but I'm not interested in rebuilding a relationship with someone who showed me exactly who they are when they thought I wasn't looking. Trust isn't something you can just glue back together once it's been shattered. The whole experience taught me that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away from toxic people, even when they're family. Sometimes especially when they're family, because they know exactly how to hurt you the most. Living my best life in Seattle now, surrounded by people who actually care about me and don't have hidden agendas. Taking pictures, exploring the city, building something real instead of trying to save something fake. And honestly, I've never been happier. Sometimes the worst thing that happens to you turns out to be the best thing that could have happened. Getting betrayed sucked, but it also set me free from people who didn't deserve me in the first place. Now I know what I won't tolerate, and more importantly, I know what I do deserve. Life's too short to waste on people who lie to your face and plan your heartbreak behind your back. Seattle's treating me well, and I'm finally living for me instead of trying to make other people happy. Best decision I ever made was walking away from that whole mess and starting over somewhere new. And that ring I dropped in the wine glass? Never did fish it out. Sometimes you just got to let things stay buried.